Hi everybody, welcome back to another little painting demonstration. Today I thought we'd have a go at doing a Venice scene. I've painted it before on my sketchbook. I sketched it in my sketchbook from a picture I found on the internet. If I can find it. There it is. There. But we're going to be doing a little bit more. This is the actual picture that we're going to be doing here. There'll be a reference image on the site as this is copyright free. I'm okay to use this one. So yeah, we're going to be painting it very much in this sort of kind of loose style. Of course, if you want, when you do yours, you paint it in what style, if you decide you want to do it, that is, if you do it in whatever style you want to do it. But I'll be painting it in my sort of style. But basically, it's quite a complicated scene actually. There's quite a lot going on in it. So we want to kind of simplify it down. For me, it's all about getting this nice light on this wall over here, on these buildings over here, and some really interesting sort of dark, colourful shadows down this side of the picture. So yeah, we might as well get started. Okay, we're going to keep this one quite simple today. I'm going to block the sky in with some cerulean blue. I've got cerulean blue on my palette already prepared, and I'm just going to literally just block it in. Make sure I've got a nice, because you've got to remember your watercolour paints dry an awful lot lighter than, well, you know, they dry a lot lighter from when they're wet. So I'm just using the Hake brush here. I could do a lot more of this sky if I wanted to, but I just want to keep it simple. So for those people that are just kind of picking up the brushes, they can come along and, you know, have a go at and just see how the scene's put together really. So there we go. So we just simply blocked in the sky with cerulean blue. Okay. Now if we wanted to, while we're there, we could use some of this cerulean blue that we've got on our palette where the water is at the bottom. And I can see there's quite a lot of, so I might just pop some in now. Just through here. It's very dark in here, so I might just go over some of this. There's going to be deep shadow later on. And there's going to be deep shadow down here. There's a boat in there which I haven't drawn in, but I'm just going to suggest that later with some brushwork. But it doesn't really matter covering this paper up here because it's going to be a lot darker than this later. So we're just sort of getting some of the shadow work in, the background work, a bit early, really. And what it does for you, it covers up that white paper. It takes that awful feeling away that some people have. So we'll just leave that blue. A few little bits down here. Where are they? Yeah. Try and get the movement of the water in where you can. I'm just going to put some thicker cerulean blue on my palette. I'm just going to add a few little ripples, give the water a bit of movement just before that dries out. There we go. There's going to be some green, dark green in there. You can just put that across and it just shows me where the boat's going to go in that little square there that's left at the bottom. So what we could do if we really wanted to is, this is going to be quite dark later, we could start blocking in just some of these little shadows over here because and this wall here is going to have some yellow in it, so I've got to keep. Don't want to block that in just yet. I want to mix some yellow up. Not really sure what colour to use for that, but I'll go with a bit of that's a bit of Naples yellow. A bit of magenta that's too strong. This is just the top of this wall here. Should be a bit more yellow. But we'll be putting some lot more darks over this before. But we're just blocking in the overall shapes with a big brush, just to get rid of that horrible white paper. It doesn't matter if it bleeds into the sky a bit, it's fine. Now we want to make sure we preserve that building there in the middle because it's white, and that's what's going to really take our eye into the picture, to the painting later on. So I just want to make sure I work around that. Just going to drop some pinks into that, down there. Just some pinky yellow up there. There we go. Now, is there anything else I can do while I'm at it? What we can start looking at now is the buildings on the other side. They're going to be kind of stronger in colour because a lot of this is going to be covered up by shadows later on. So I want some burnt sienna, some cadmium red, what have I got? I'm looking at what I've got in my palette. Might try a little bit of yellow ochre there as well, with a bit of cadmium red. That gives us a nice warm bricky colour. And I'm just going to mix some raw sienna up on its own. Oh, sorry, some yellow ochre up on its own. Some Naples yellow. And I'm just going to give this building a tint of colour first, before I go in with a darker colour. And I'm just using my big hake for all this, don't have to worry too much. Just let that dry a second before I come back to it. Now the other side is a nice deeper, lovely sort of yellowy colour. Really yellow actually in places. So I'm just putting in the darker colours as I see them. But you've got to remember these will dry a lot lighter. So put them a little bit darker than you think they need to be on here. Just trying to preserve some little white highlights around the windows, just to preserve the brickwork. And this building is a paler yellow, so that's okay. We'll just leave that like that for the time being. Now before this one dries, we'll come back to it, because this is quite a deep red, and we'll just put that, drop these warmer colours in. So basically all we're doing, you can see we're just building up the picture, we're just tinting the paper and working our way around. Again, there's more colour down here. Sort of don't try and obliterate all the windows because they need to be a bit lighter in places. If you do, don't worry about it. It will still look fine, trust me. Okay. We've got our chance to sort of correct a lot of this later when we come in with the darker colours. This building back here is slightly more red. Try and protect the windows. If you notice, I'm using quite a big brush here. Now, you don't have to use quite as big a brush, but I find it really helps me keep things simple and stop getting bogged down at this stage in unnecessary detail. Let's put these buildings in back here. We'll come back later and put some shadow in. Let's lift that colour out there because that building's quite white at the back. So you can remember, if you do go in, you can always lift the colour out again before it dries. Always worth bearing in mind. Well, that's okay. Then we've got some greenery down here. I'm going to have a touch of that. And for that I'm just using some Windsor yellow and some, Windsor yellow and some cerulean blue. And I'm just going to let that run in wherever it wants to go, really. Just to tint that area there. Okay. Okay, the next bit I'm going to do is just paint the bridge in. So again, we're keeping this really simple. We're just blocking all the basic colours to start with. So I'm just going to use a little bit of cadmium red and yellow ochre. I might drop some other colours. I'm going to go back over the blue I put in there, and then back over there, all the way across the bridge, leaving the part at the bit at the top a lighter colour, well, almost white, because that's the capping stones on the bridge. So again, we're just very simple. We're not gonna all the way down the other side, right off the page. So basically there we have our bridge. Now, just because when I look at the actual picture I see some colours in this bridge and I want to get those in now, so just adding to that while it's still wet, I'm just going to add in places just a little bit of colour just so that runs in. And where that bit's just down the bottom, we'll be putting this in darker later. Just want to put that in. That's just basically a tint of just dropping that little bit of colour just so it merges and it blends into the warmer wash. I'm just going to soften this line here. I don't want it too hard around there. There we go. And again, I can bring some of those colours down into the water area. That's fine. Now, what should we do next? I think we'll concentrate on this area now, over this side. Oh, actually, no, we won't. We'll put the some little red roofs in on this house over here. We'll put those in. So again, I'm just going to use the same colours really. Keep it really simple. I'm just going to block those in. Like that. And this one. Like that. Quite a reddish roof up here. just pop that in, and that's that done. Now we want to start just putting a few of the what should we put in next? Put in some windows. So I'm going to mix a little bit of cerulean blue with just a touch of yellow. And I'll keep changing this colour. I might add a little bit of red to that in a minute, just to. But these windows here have just want to just drop the colours into it. Just. We can just go back and just soften. That was just a bit of cobalt blue, sorry, cerulean blue, and a little bit of. But we'll be coming back doing a lot more work to that in a minute. Just going to run some shadow in under here. So I'll get a few. Just keep these shadows as just putting the darks in the windows. Just letting them all merge in really. And this is just burnt sienna. What was it? Burnt sienna and cobalt blue. And a touch of cadmium red. I'll keep them of brush size quite big really. Okay. I'm just going to put some windows in up here. These have got lovely green shutters on them, so we'll try and get those in. But I'm just going to just let it darker. Quite a bit darker actually. Can't think. I'm just going to suggest those like that. And we've got some more down here. You always want to get some little dry brush strokes in those. These ones here, they've got shutters, but the windows are closed. And the ones at the top, on this side, I've got little brown shutters on them. You know, it's just a sketch. We're just like filling these areas in really. This is just the inside of the windows. I'm just using, it's quite a warm colour. Then we've got some shadows under the window, and they're just going to put those in. And that's just cobalt blue and yellow ochre with a touch of burnt sienna. I think it's just a mix I've got going. That mix just constantly evolves as I'm painting. It's a strange, you can't really, it's impossible to kind of tell you what it is, because it constantly changes as we're going along. But if that makes any sense, probably doesn't. We'll just keep these colours nice, and these insides of these windows here are really warm. There's like a basket. Oh, we've got some green shutters here, warmish windows. I'm not being, you can see I'm not sort of like worrying. It's not a word, I don't want to use the word worrying, but I'm just painting freely. I'm enjoying myself. I'm not having to sit here going, oh, you know, unless that's what you want to do, of course, that's fine. But I'm just looking for the overall shapes, and if I miss the shape, I'm not that worried, because I know that we can make up some other way. I'm not sitting here now fretting. You know, the whole process, I want to enjoy the whole process, so I'm kind of like, if it doesn't work, fine, move on, and I'll come back and correct that in a minute. It's that kind of attitude, really. Right, let's have a look. I'm going to put some shadows in on this building over here. We've got some lovely shadows to come in over this side in a little while, but I just want to get the shadows in on this this building here. Before we carry on. I'm just going to put the blue in first. I'm just going to go for a grey blue colour. It kind of comes down. I picked up a load of red on there and I've put that in. So, never mind. So basically, all we're doing here, we'll do the same as before really. We're just drawing in the shapes. This is that little shrubby tree. Goes up. Just show something of it. Then there's that bit of warmth in that. Just want to go back to that before it dries completely and just finish that shadow off here. A little window there, let's just put that in. We'll come back and finish that area in a minute, but right now, and again, this is just the cobalt blue and cad red, the shadow that comes down. Again, it's nice to put some warmth in with it because it's Obviously a warm place. You don't want all your shadows just blue or whatever. That'll do for me. And we'll just let that dry and then we'll come back. Sorry, I had to stop then for a moment. The dog came in, Toby, and was rummaging through my bin. I'm just putting in the windows, and again they're just indications. I'm not doing anything. As I'm doing it, I'm not thinking window. I'm just approximately putting in some splodges. Let's go back to this window. There's a door here. Put that in now. And then before this dries, we'll just pop these windows in so they spread out a bit. If we lose them completely, we can always come back and just firm them up a little bit afterwards. But that's kind of it really. We've got a nice big shadow to come down over here eventually. We've got the drain pipe to go in there. But yeah, so we've sketched that in quite loosely, but it's okay. Okay, now we'll just move on into putting in these reflections down here. So basically we're just going to be doing a slightly duller version of what's up here and what's reflected in the water. So what do you start with first? Well, that's kind of up to you, I suppose, but I'm just going to sort of find my way around. I've just mixed up a selection of blues, greys, oranges, muted reds, just for the shadow work, okay? For the reflection, sorry. So I don't want all the reflections to stay the same, so I'll change things about, add some warmth to some, draw the colours down the page. There's quite a nice line there. It's a good idea to use a nice flat brush for this because you can get some nice sort of chiselled edges as you work your way around. I've got to think about those greens to reflect those in the water. Beyond that, some muted. Now we'll move. Bit more cabin red. But once this is dry, we'll come back, we'll put some more work into that just to make it nice. Going to be some nice shadows. We've got to reflect the shadow, even though we can't see the shadow yet in that part of the building. We want to get it in. Then do here. This is the reflection of the bridge now, so we want to get that in. We might just carry on and work our way right across now. Just going to change my brush size, go a bit bigger. So you can just see how I'm sort of like adding all the colours as I go, kind of trying to reflect what's in the buildings really. You know, there's no definite way to explain it, you have to kind of just go with it really. Something like that. And then I'm going to work up underneath the bridge. So I've gone quiet, I've got to concentrate at this point. You know, I'm not editing the video, so you only get bits of it. I'm doing it all, so some of it takes quite a bit of concentration. Now I'm going to start working into the bridge. Get the soften that line a bit. That's what my palette's looking like at the moment. I'm just moving between the blues and the oranges. I'll make sure I get enough of the blue in there. I quite like that colour in that part of the painting. That's quite nice. And I just want to, before this goes, I just want to drag some of this colour over this, the rim, the bridge. That's it. That's okay. Get some of this. I'm just going to lift a little bit of colour out of the top here. do. Oh, it's dunked me fingers in the paint. So, okay. So just carry on. There's a little boat here. Do that, just suggest that. Lifting out some colour now. That's where the light stonework is around the bridge. Okay. Now I'll work my way to this wall. The brickwork. Can't kind of really work out what colour it is, to be honest. It's various colours. It's oranges and yellows and shadow coloured, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, because if you're outside painting you would have to make lots of decisions at this point. You would be so busy thinking about what you've got to paint, you wouldn't have hours to... And it kind of goes up like that. There's a window up there. But we'll come back and put a wash over that in a minute anyway. And again over this. Right, now we've got some windows running down here. So for those I'm just going to literally block them in like that. The shutters are all kind of open, so I don't want to do a lot more than that. Then we've got some kind of neutrally grey colours up here. But now we've got that blocked in, we can go back and we can draw in some detail and really punch out the darks on that part of the painting. So we've got a window here. And for that I'm just using cobalt blue, and it's just a mix of browns and reds in there, so I'm getting a deep purpley sort of colour. I'll wait for that to draw a little bit up there. Okay. So now there's a kind of a shadow there. I'm going to start using some dry brush now to get a little bit of a little lantern thing here. Put that in. basically I'm using my little goat hair brush here again now. When that dries, though, another wash will be going over the top of that stonework there. Wait for that to dry a bit. Actually, what we can do now is, while that dries, is put some of the windows in. If I'd put them in too early, they would have just disappeared. I'm just going to put a drain pipe in down here. Another one down here. We've got some windows to go in this side there. Again, I'm not really sort of trying to paint them all in accurately. I'm just putting little splodges where I can see the dark holes. Basically. It's quite a nice little shadow that, oh, excuse me, runs down over this wall. Let's pop that in. And then we've got this shadow over here that runs against this wall, so we'll just pop that in. Now it's got like a it cuts down there. Yeah, something like that. So I don't want to mess about that too much. Oh, then the shadow comes over onto this wall here a little bit. Actually comes up here and then down there. Something like that. So really we're starting to get it all sort of sorted now. Just got to put a little bit of cool grey wash over this. Should have done this initially really. Put a bit of grey wash over that. Let that dry a minute and then we'll come back and put the last bits in. Okay, now I've mixed a nice, now this is all dried, I've mixed a nice, quite a thick sort of grey up, and I've just used what was in there, which was basically browns, which was mixes of yellow ochre and cadmium red, and I've just added some cobalt blue to that, and I've got a kind of nice neutral sort of bluey grey colour, and I'm just going to use that now to pick out some detail up here on the actual building, and it's just going to be just suggestion of detail. I'm not trying to paint just where the windows are, and there's some little columns here. It really isn't going to be much at all. And that's it. That's all you've got to do. You know, like I said earlier, if you want to do more you can, but for me that's enough. I just want to reinforce some of these shadows down here. Some of these windows in. Now basically I'm just going to go around the painting and put any obvious shadows in. There's one that runs down that side of the chimney. There's one that runs there. And basically it's just that this is the sort of stage where you're just tidying things up. I also like to just sometimes put a little bit of a wash over things in places, just like that, where I blob that on, and just don't mix it all on, don't mix it all in, just soften some of the edges, just put a splodge on it, and it gives you that general sort of shift in texture on the stonework. We need to do the same here as well, down this wall, if I can mix and clean colour. A little bit of red in there because it's quite warm, but this wall's got a lot of brickwork in it. Well, I can't paint all the brickwork because no point, I'll be there forever and a day. What I can do is just put the overall shifts of colour in, and it just changes at that point there. And for me that's enough. We've got some little shadows underneath these balconies, and for that I'm just, doing nothing. The same goes for this bridge here. Now some brickwork. Now because this brickwork and this bridge is closer, I won't paint the actual brickwork as such, but I will put some texture into the bridge. Just a little bit of dry brush, similar colour that I used to paint the bridge with, but just like an indication of where bricks might be, just so people, think, just like that. Really nothing more than that. We go back to the same old thing. If you want to put more in, you can, and that's perfectly all right. It's not, there's no right or wrong. You're not a worse artist if you don't, so you're not a better artist if you do. It's just a different way of painting. There's got some windows here. We've got drain pipe. It's putting all those little squiggly lines in is what actually then makes it look like water and brings it to life. So they're the little things, the little details you want to think about when you're actually putting the shadows on the tree now. And for that I'm just running a little bit of cobalt blue and green over it. Well, we've got these little posts here we need to put in, and they're just like a warm grey colour. So with the cobalt blue I'm just going to add a little bit of brown to it, just to get a nice warmy sort of grey colour, and just basically put them in very simply. We've got the boat to go in down here. We'll just move that clip for that. It's not an ideal position for a boat, but it was there. So we can just pop it like that. There's a little bit of red at the bottom for something. Maybe shadow that side of the boat. And some shadow there. Basically it's just an indication, you don't have to go to town. If you start trying to put a lot of detail in that boat there, it will send the rest of the painting out, because you haven't put detail in other places. It's having the same feel to the painting all the way around, and not doing more in one place than another. It's having it equally spread around the painting, unless you're trying to home in on one area for some reason. You try and draw the viewer's attention to one area, then that's fine, you can do it then. But I'm just going to put a bit of a wash now, as I said, over these stones there. It's quite dark at this point down here. Yeah. So when those posts are dry, which they nearly are, I'm just going to put a little bit more shadow down them. Just then at the back of them, there's a little bit of weed on the wall, a little bit green, sort of slimy stuff. We'll just pop that in. The background. Like that. And then there's a couple of reflections on the wall from the post, and again I'm going back to a bit of cad red and a bit of cobalt blue for that, and what is essentially, and I'm just going to, they kind of fall back like that, something like that anyway. And we'll leave those like that. What else we got? It's always worth having a good look when you've got quite a busy painting. It's always worth having a good look to see what you've got left to do. Make a little bit more of these shadows here, these reflections, sorry. But really, I don't want to do an awful lot more. You know, what was, you know, it's about an hour and a half's work, I suppose. There is a little figure on the bridge, but I'm not going to put it in because it will look too busy. And we don't want to do that. But if you remember when we started the painting, all we did was just block the shapes in and then work our way around. You know, we just filled the shapes with what we thought was the approximate colour, and then there's another little window there, and then just, you know, added some detail. It really isn't a lot to it. I'll tell you, these things look an awful lot more complicated than they are, and just the fact that they look complicated, it puts people off. But it truly isn't that complicated. It's as complicated as you want to make it, really. If you're happy to sort of, you know, just you know, you don't have to sort of be. There's a few little bits on the bridge there. And what we can do is just put a little bit of splatter there on the bridge. If you splatter on the bridge bit, what it does actually, if you splatter on the bridge a little bit, it gives a bit of texture to the bridge, basically. But yeah, you know, some of you, I know my style probably fidgets some people because everybody's itching to put more in, and I really appreciate that. I can understand it, but I can tell you now, if this was behind glass, or framed on a wall, it would look fine. It would look, well, I know they look good, so I won't be doing it. So there we go. Have a go, and it just adds something. That's just with a little rigger, and you just mix up bits of colour and stuff, just to especially on this side where it's really dark, because where it's dark it's kind of you lose the detail a bit. So but there we go. I hope you enjoyed the little exercise. Have a go at the painting. I know, looking at the quality of the work that's being posted on the forum at the moment, it's absolutely fantastic, and it gives me such great pleasure to see people, you know, painting and getting a lot out of watercolour. So have a little go. If there's any questions you want to ask, please feel free to come and ask. You know, there's always I'm often in the forum of an evening, UK time, probably about 7 or 8 o'clock. So feel free to come in and ask any questions. But there we go. So thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.